Hello and welcome to episode number 68 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. I am Rollo McFlugel and with me is Slappy Jones 2 and we are both at McFlugel.com. The release of this episode will be December 4th, 2017. Like we mentioned last episode, we're pre-recording this because of some scheduling issues, but you know what? Gosh darn it, we're going to get you your episode a week. So, show notes page is McFlugel.com/68. So, before I make Slappy laugh at any more stupid things I say, I'll let him have control of the microphone that we're both sitting here talking into.
Yeah, thank you, Rollo, and thanks everyone for listening. Can't believe it's already December. Here we are.
Wow, I mean, that week went by so fast between recording these episodes. It's like
the year just flies by, and here we are. It feels like 2 weeks happened in about 10 minutes. So, anyway, today's episode, we are going to talk about a little debate that's going on, I guess. Debate, I don't know. It's like two sides in an argument over Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. If you follow any of this stuff on Twitter, I'd say it's getting kind of ugly. It's just kind of weird.
I'd say it's more annoying than
it's annoying,
ugly.
Yeah. It's not ugly. It's not mean-spirited, but it's like people are picking sides and saying this is it, and the other side is no good, or this is too slow or too expensive, and this is the greatest thing ever, and you put all your money in this one. No, put all your money in this one. But through all this annoyance and back and forth and making their cases for Bitcoin Cash and the other side making their cases for Bitcoin, we've seen this argument more than once, which is kind of upsetting, where people who are pumping up Bitcoin Cash will say Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin, is just a Ponzi scheme. There's some actually, like, smart people saying this, right? I mean,
Yeah, one of the core developers, and this is what kind of made us be like, all right, let's finally do it. Craig Wright, in a tweet, someone was talking about Bitcoin being a store of value, and he said, no, Bitcoin is and was cash. No payment systems, no store of value, just a Ponzi.
So he obviously doesn't know what a Ponzi scheme is. And this is defined, I just Googled it real quick, and it shows the Wikipedia definition. A Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investment operation where the operator generates returns for older investments through revenue paid by new investors, rather than from legitimate business activities or profit of financial trading. So, Rollo, why is it impossible that Bitcoin is actually a Ponzi scheme?
Because there's no promise of return. When I buy a Bitcoin, no one's promising me that I'm going to get a later return, and it's not me getting paid. If I want to, exchange my Bitcoin back for dollars or whatever else, I go into the marketplace and find someone willing to buy my Bitcoin for whatever the price it is. I'm not reliant on other people. I don't need other people to buy Bitcoins in order for me to sell my Bitcoin. Now, I may have an expectation or may speculate on the price, and that's why I'm buying it, because I want to, if it reaches a certain price later on, decide to sell it.
And you hope that someone's willing to buy it at that price.
But that doesn't make it a Ponzi scheme.
Right, a Ponzi scheme is what Bernie Madoff was doing, where he was taking investors' money, probably investing it, some of it anyway, but showing fake returns. So he might earn 5%, but tell everyone he earned 10%. And then if that person wanted to withdraw his money, that the investor wanted to withdraw their money, he would give them back money that he took from other investors because the actual returns weren't there. So Bitcoin is just a currency. No one, when you buy Bitcoin, they're not taking your dollars and investing your dollars into something else and then giving you a return. You're just trading.
Right.
It's not a Ponzi scheme. Please stop saying it's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, it would be like saying, I'm going to buy, I don't know, there's a microphone sitting in front of me. I'm going to buy a microphone because I think that this microphone is going to be worth twice as much in a year. I'm going to sit there and hold it and sell it later on. And a bunch of people do the same thing. and then a year happens and I sell it for whatever price it is. That's not a Ponzi scheme. I'm not relying on anyone else buying microphones when I want to sell it in order for me to get paid on the microphone. I need someone else willing to pay the price that I want to sell it for. Like, you can say that, you can't even say it's not like a Ponzi scheme at all. So you can't even say it's like a Ponzi scheme because there's nothing at all other than exchanging money and expecting to get more than you initially put in. The mechanics of it, there's no similarities at all.
It makes me think people who are saying Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme think Ponzi scheme means a fraud. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Or pumping, the price getting pumped up higher than...
Right, a pump and dump scheme.
Right.
It just can't be a Ponzi scheme. And I've heard this so many times, it's starting to drive me crazy. We were talking before the show about it. You could call it a pump and dump. You could say people are pumping this thing up and telling you have to buy, and they're putting their own money in to jack up the price so that other people start buying to jack up the price. And then those initial people who are pumping it up and putting their money in then sell when it gets real high, and they all sell, so then the price crashes, and all those people who put money in lost. You could call it a pump and dump, right. Although it would be a very big one because, there's a lot of money going into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But you can't call it a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. That's like I'm holding a pen in my hand, and I can't, no matter what, I cannot call this a door. Or anything else that's not a pen.
It might be a bad pen.
Right.
It might not work, but it's not a door.
Yeah.
So you could say Bitcoin is a bad investment. You could say Bitcoin you think is overpriced, that there's just this... it just got real popular all of a sudden overnight, and everyone wants to get in, and so the price is higher than it should be, or maybe when the market clears, it'll be much lower. But you can't call it a Ponzi scheme. It's not a Ponzi scheme. So,
yeah, I don't know where it all came from, because originally I heard it like one time, and then out of nowhere, just popping up all over the place. And that's the way arguments seem to happen a lot. But out of nowhere, I don't want to say, because it happens organically for the most part, but it's like someone's got this like playbook, and someone just like, all right, let's run this play now, and it's the called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme, and then out of nowhere, everyone starts jumping on that bandwagon.
I think people like to repeat it. Maybe they think they sound smart or in the know because someone tweets it somewhere or says it, and they heard it, and they're like, yeah, Ponzi scheme. And instead of being like, what the hell's a Ponzi scheme? Maybe I should look that up. They just repeat it. Yeah.
The problem is when you say something that's just absolutely objectively false, because like you said, if you want to argue that Bitcoin's not a good store of value or not good for, transaction, whatever you want to say, that's fine. It's subjective. Anyone can have their opinion on that. But if you say that Bitcoin's a Ponzi, you're just objectively wrong. So people who use that argument, it just makes you look silly and not well thought. That you're just, I don't know. I guess it's kind of not a shock value in saying it's a Ponzi scheme, but really just like, because everyone associates Ponzi schemes, probably rightfully so, as being a bad thing.
Well, it's fraud.
Right.
I mean, you're telling someone you're getting a return when you're not.
Yeah. So, I think it's just a way to poison the well. Whether it's intentional or not, I think people who say it don't actually realize they're completely and utterly wrong about it.
And the thing is, if you don't like Bitcoin, don't put your money into it.
Right.
And you can even tell people you don't like it and your reasons why. But it's like that guy from Japan Post Bank, Katsunori Sago. I was unfamiliar with him until I read this article. But he said he thinks the price of Bitcoin is actually $100, and so Bank of Japan or Japan Post Bank is not going to buy any until it's $100. But then, of course, he was asked, all right, well, are you going to short it? And he said, no, we have no plans to short it. So you obviously don't really believe that, but you're going to throw that out there anyway. It's worth $100. Try to scare people. He's obviously a central banker and has vested interest in that. Not that that means everything he says is wrong. It's just he has a clear interest in Bitcoin not taking off.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like, what would you guys think of me if you found out that I actually don't have a tractor, even though I pump tractors every episode that we have? Probably be like, okay, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, what's this guy's obsession with tractors?
Right. But yeah, it's funny. I remember that article. I remember reading it and seeing that thing about, are you going to short it? No. And it's like, well, we're planning on buying it eventually at a lower price. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Kind of all made sense on
Exactly.
why his opinion was the way it was.
If you could see the future and you knew the price was going to be $100 in, I don't know, you'd name the time, you would be shorting it.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So, put your money where your mouth is.
It's funny, too, that he was just that outright saying, no, we're not going to, instead of being like, well, I don't know.
Well, we're going to evaluate it,
right.
And maybe it's in the budget. He didn't even say anything. He just said, no, we're not. Which is good for him.
Right. At least he's a little bit honest.
A little bit.
In some ways, I guess.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? I'm going to throw this at you without any prep. The other argument that we hear a lot is that it is a bubble.
Well, I don't know. Could be.
Depends on how you define bubble.
I mean, if you usually people don't know a bubble's happening when they're involved in it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. But yeah, it depends on what you mean by a bubble. I've typically defined a bubble as just malinvestment that makes the price go up higher than kind of
where the market clearing price, the equilibrium price would be.
I don't want to say where the price should be because no one really knows what the price should be.
Well, the price should be what people are willing to pay for it.
Exactly. So wherever it clears at. Normally, bubbles are made a lot worse, they are always made a lot worse when the government gets involved and they inflate the bubble further by bad credit and
tax
interest
incentives,
right.
Different regulations, forcing you to do things, forcing you to loan money to people who shouldn't get the money,
right,
etc.
So outside of that, because clearly the government's not doing that for Bitcoin, at least not that I know of, and it'd be kind of a big story if they were, if that broke out. But I mean, it could be. I don't know. There could be some sort of frenzy for people buying up Bitcoin and because people ride, I mean, it happens all the time. What's the old saying in markets is sell high, buy low. No one ever does that, or at least not generally. So, it could be kind of a mania going on where people are buying up Bitcoin and buying it up. But, I mean, is it going to crash? I don't know. It's happened. You can look at the charts for Bitcoin, and it has the big spike up, and then it drops back down. It has a big spike up, and it drops back down. It just did it clear 9,000 yet today?
Today it did, yeah.
I remember this episode's happened like 2 weeks behind, so who knows what the price is going to be in 2 weeks?
Right, I'm looking at it right now. It's $9,089.
Okay,
but a couple weeks ago it was close to 5,000.
Right, and so I don't know. I mean, when's it going to drop back down to its new low? I don't know. I've been expecting it to do that for a while. It hasn't yet, so if I knew the future of this kind of stuff, I wouldn't be sitting in Slappy's basement recording a podcast episode like this. We'd be doing much, much, much better. So, your guess is as good as mine where it's going to go to, but I don't think that's what people are talking about when they say Bitcoin's a bubble. I think what they're implying is not that it's going to, all right, we're at $9,000 right now, but it's going to drop to like $3,000 for a while. And we're going to go up, we're going to go from there. Now, I think what they're implying is that when the bubble bursts, it's not going to have any value, which is silly. Not that Bitcoin's going to have value forever. Again, I have no idea, but you look at the most famous recent bubble, the housing bubble, all that property didn't go to zero. It still had a value. It still had a price to it. It just wasn't what, everyone was buying it up at in the period before that. It dropped to where the corrected price was. Doesn't make property worthless. So
the other thing is most people, I mean, this is really kind of part of the debate with the Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin is people aren't using Bitcoin as currency to trade. And I don't think most people are putting their life savings into it. In fact, some advice I got that I thought was pretty good is the dumbest thing in the world is to put all your money in Bitcoin. But the second dumbest thing in the world is to put none of your money into Bitcoin.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, and if you are putting your entire life savings into Bitcoin, you're doing that at your own risk, just like putting all your savings into a stock or in any one investment vehicle or currency. You're rolling the dice. You're taking a risk. So let's say it's a bubble. I mean, if you put in X percent, 10% of your savings or whatever, you put in some money that you had on the side, presumably you're putting that money in understanding that you could lose it, just like you would with any other investment. When people throw out the bubble word, it's scary because of the dot-com bubble and the housing bubble. The problem with the housing bubble is people would borrow $500,000 and then the price would drop and they couldn't get out of their loan and they couldn't pay their mortgage and then you can't even sell the house to make up the mortgage. That wouldn't be the case with Bitcoin. You would lose, if you put $5,000 in and bought one Bitcoin and the price goes down to $3,000, you could sell it for $3,000. You lose the $2,000, sure, but you're not underwater in the way a mortgage was. Is that a good thing? No, of course not. Nobody wants to lose money, but you got to know that risk when you go into it. And if you look at the charts, you can see how volatile it is.
Right, and no one's sitting there saying that Bitcoin's. You always hear that's the thing people say. Oh, it's very risky. It's very volatile. So it's like if you pull someone off the street now, because Bitcoin's thankfully it's at a level right now where basically everyone is aware of it, that it exists. Now, do they understand how it works or what it's for? Probably not. But if you ask them to describe Bitcoin, they'll probably throw terms out like risky and volatile.
That's what everyone knows about it.
Right.
In fact, which is more than they know about U.S. dollars, because if you ask them where they came from or how they're made, they have no clue. That's a side point.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think it's bad arguments. At least the bubble thing kind of isn't just completely and utterly wrong, like the Ponzi scheme thing is. So,
I also just think it's kind of weird that there's sides to this.
Yeah.
like if you don't, I mean, you'd have to actually read the tweets and the arguments to understand where we're going with this. But to just be so passionate about one and not the other, I mean, my stance is kind of like, I don't know, maybe Bitcoin Cash is the best thing ever and it's going to overtake Bitcoin. Well, great, who cares?
Right.
I have some of both, and we'll see what happens. We'll see how it plays out. If the price of Bitcoin starts dropping, maybe I'll sell some and encourage the price to continue to drop. But move into Bitcoin Cash, whatever, who knows? I don't know. We don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know which altcoin's going to win, in quotes. But I think cryptocurrencies are here to stay. And I think they're only going to get more popular. And more people are going to buy in, which with the currency means the price will continue to go up. So I think if you're considering buying some, like I said earlier, don't put all your money in. But I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg. Most people I talk to don't own it yet. And most people I talk to are interested, want to find out more, want to learn, and may consider putting money in. So I think we're still just at the tip of the iceberg. I think the price will continue to go up. But that being said, if I knew that, I'd put all my money into it. And I'm not doing it. So I don't know. It's very volatile. It could go down tomorrow. By the time this airs, it could be down to $2,000. We have no idea.
Well, it's going to be interesting when this actually gets posted.
Yeah, it might not even be relevant.
Yeah, but like I can't wait to see what the price is actually. Because they're saying it's 9,000 right now. It'll be fun to see where it's at because it's been the last couple months have been absolutely insane. with everything that's going on, and I know people are, and I do think it will. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen with the market because, yeah, I forget what price level it would be if it had the same kind of drop off that it did the last time it spiked up. I forget how. I think it's like maybe $2,000 or $3,000 that the new like floor would be, or not floor, but like the new low. Will it behave the same way this time around? I have no idea. But that's what makes it fun. It's fun to be in, like, I have the little widget on my phone that gives me the price of Bitcoin. It's fun to like check there different times of the day and see how much different it is. So it's been a fun ride. Just,
Certainly.
At the very least, I've enjoyed the Bitcoin roller coaster. So with that, do you have a free market success story for us?
Sure, I could. Do you have one?
No, not really.
Right.
I gave last week's one.
You did. So anyway, I can have one, and we'll go with this. So every week my wife, she'll look through the circulars and find out where the deals are. The reason she does that is there's multiple supermarkets in the area. Finds out what's on sale, and she may buy our meats for the week from one supermarket and dairy from the other, or cereal from the other, or whatever. And that's a really nice feature of the free market. And that is definitely something most people take for granted. See, supermarkets, there's several in this area. They're all competing for the same business, so they put certain things on sale. They may even take a loss from some things they're selling, a loss leader, to get people in the door to do their shopping there and make the money up on the other products they buy. So if you're very wealthy, maybe you don't care about the price as much for your food and you don't set a budget and you just go in and buy. But some people, like my family, are on a budget and we allocate a certain amount of money for the week, and my wife does a good job feeding us, finding the food and using our money more efficiently. So she'll make 2 stops during the week, or 3 stops, whatever, if she finds a real good deal, to get those low prices. So we have more food for the same amount of dollars than we otherwise would if we just went to one store. And so why is that a free market success story? Well, it's good that we have as many supermarkets, as the market can handle in this area. Without that, if government was providing food to make it fair so that the prices are the same, like they do with our liquor in Pennsylvania, if you want to buy a bottle of wine in Center City or in rural, I don't know, Landenberg or something, it's going to be the same exact price because the state runs the state stores. There is no supply and demand going on there like there is with the supermarkets. And, wow, I just lost my train of thought there. Anyway.
We grow our own food down there. We don't need supermarkets.
Yeah, so anyway, the fact that the market allows players to come in and go out and compete for our business lets consumers on a budget still be able to feed their family pretty efficiently. And I really like that feature of the market. If it was like public schools where you're in this area, you must go to that school. You have no choice. If you don't like the administration, you don't like the teachers, tough luck, you're going. Thankfully, it's not like that with supermarkets where they say you have to go to this supermarket if you live in this area. And the prices are what they are, you deal with it. So,
I agree. Yeah, it's like if the government controlled the tractor production, then it probably wouldn't be interesting enough for me to obsess over it and talk about it all the time here.
Right, but you get tractor prices, so
that's true. I even have a couple places where, like, I don't have made the crack about rural where I live. It's more important that I have the different tractor parts websites that I use, which is actually true. There's a couple different that I do look at prices on each of them and make decisions on that. So even for buying tractor parts, little tiny discontinued tractors.
Yeah. So thankfully we have markets and prices.
Absolutely. So with that, show notes page, again, is mcfougal.com/68. We'll have links to the things we're talking about here, as well as ways to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as the link to sign up for our email newsletter. And like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and catch us on the other social media we have linked there. So, when this is going to be like a time warp for when you actually hear this. So, check and see what the price of Bitcoin is.
See if it's more or less than $9,089.
Yeah, shoot us a message somewhere on those social media things. Tell us what Bitcoin is, because I'll probably forget to check. And I do want to know, so that's your homework. We don't give you homework here often, but you've been assigned.
Catch you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.